It truly pains me to start today with a story that really points to such a dark time in the United States of America. Jimmy Kimmel's program on ABC has been indefinitely suspended, and it's been indefinitely suspended because of the following 60 seconds related to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. This is why the channel has taken this measure. And there is so much wrong with this. I'm not even a fan of Jimmy Kimmel's. I never watched this show or shows like it. It's not about specifically Jimmy Kimmel or his jokes. This is about a chilling, dystopian crackdown on speech that is now leading not just to censorship, but to self-censorship, a hallmark of authoritarian regimes. Here is what Jimmy Kimmel said that has gotten him canceled.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish. Okay.
Now, that's actually pretty funny. That's actually pretty good. But the show has now been canceled because of this. I guess it's the earlier part where he says the MAGA people are falling all over themselves to try to make it, to tell the story where Tyler Robinson had no right-wing beliefs or whatever. This is how authoritarianism works. It terrifies people into self-censorship. Now, I want to put aside for a second that these are the people who told us they are against cancel culture. These are the people who told us that opinions shouldn't lead people to lose their jobs or comedy shouldn't lead people to lose their jobs. I want to put aside the double standard of it. You know why? Because this political movement doesn't give a damn about double standards. These people do not care about hypocrisy. The do as I say, not as I do, or whatever. We're against cancel culture. Let's start canceling people. It's totally hypocritical, but they don't care. The MAGA voters don't care. Doesn't even make sense to address it right now. Do we live in a country where there is freedom of speech, where satire, comedy, commentary, opinion are revered and protected, even if they're uncomfortable or the dear leader doesn't like them? Or are we turning the United States into a true authoritarian regime? And I don't think it can be denied at this point that the answer is we're doing the latter. We are doing the latter, and it is terrifying. And at this point, I mean, we were all, a bunch of the creators in my cohort, we were all texting yesterday. They're going to come for us. It's abundantly clear that they're going to come for us. There's reportedly a meeting happening in about a month with some of the big platforms and the White House. Obviously, the suspicion is that this is going to be a start policing the content. We'd better not see any jokes about X. We'd better not see anybody making fun of Trump for Y. This is an extraordinarily dark moment. And just think of the vision of the founders, the framers of the Constitution. There is nothing here that they would look at and say, that's why we created the United States of America. That's why we have a Constitution and a Bill of Rights. That's why we have a First Amendment. They would see this and be disgusted. And it's so cliche to say, oh, they'd be rolling over in their graves. I don't know that I've ever used that phrase before, but it seems appropriate for the circumstances in which we find ourselves. This is cancel culture, and they promote this. Now, earlier yesterday, FCC Chairman Brendan Carr was on with Benny Johnson and actually mentioned ABC saying, we're not going to run Kimmel anymore, like something reasonable that a broadcaster should do. It was really written on the wall here.
There's actions that we can take on licensed broadcasters. And frankly, I think that it's really sort of past time that a lot of these licensed broadcasters themselves push back on Comcast and Disney and say, listen, we are going to preempt. We are not going to run Kimmel anymore until you straighten this out, because we licensed broadcaster, are running the possibility of fines or license revocation from the FCC if we continue to run content that ends up being a pattern of news distortion. So I think, again, Disney needs to see some change here, but the individual licensed stations that are taking their content, it's time for them to step up and say, this, garbage, to the extent that that's what comes down the pipe in the future, isn't something that we think serves the needs of our local communities. But this.
Do you understand what's going on here? They are talking about terrifying broadcasters into self-censorship, and they are talking about making platforms directly liable for any political repercussions to what they air. Now, I just have to be upfront. I'm showing all my cards. If this were to be applied to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, potentially even Spotify and Apple Podcasts, if that were to all of a sudden be something where YouTube goes, when Brian Tyler Cohen makes fun of Trump, or when the Mycelis brothers go after Pam Bondi, that might cause a problem for us as a platform. We are gone, folks. We are gone overnight. So this is clearly something that they have been wanting. Trump said, remember when Colbert lost his show, Trump said Kimmel and Fallon might be next. Like, this is clearly something that they are not only cheering today, but that they planned in advance. And Trump is cheering it. Trump posted to Truth Social yesterday, quote, "Great news for America. The ratings challenge Jimmy Kimmel show is canceled. Congratulations to ABC for finally having the courage to do what had to be done. Kimmel has zero talent and worse ratings than even Colbert, if that's possible. That leaves Jimmy and Seth, two total losers on fake news NBC. Their ratings are also horrible. Do it, NBC," encouraging NBC to push others off of the air. So they've gotten Kimmel off the air. They've gotten Colbert's show canceled. It's running a little longer, but it'll soon be gone. Trump is extorting settlements out of media companies, Paramount, the ABC fiasco. He's got a new lawsuit against the New York Times. This is the administration most hostile to free speech that I have ever witnessed and worked under. And my expectation is one of us is going to get hit. And all of a sudden, it's going to be a multiple six-figure or potentially even a seven-figure legal bill. And this is going to get extraordinarily ugly. But forget about that, right? You might say, David, I don't care about you or Midas Touch or Brian Tyler Cohen. Forget about that. Well, do you care about the foundation that this country was built on? Do you have the ability and the confidence to say, I can give opinions, I can do what the First Amendment is supposed to grant me the right to do without being worried about frivolous lawsuits, firings, etc.? Or don't I? Do I or don't I have that ability? Did the founders intend for me to have that ability? The answer is yes. And by the way, for people in the audience who go, well, David, this is a problem for creators, but it's not a problem for other people. How many people, not random people, just everyday people without a public-facing job, been fired because of their opinions about Charlie Kirk? It doesn't mean that I agree with the opinions that are stated. It doesn't mean anything like that. But that is not the way this country is supposed to function. And so I hope that there are Republicans out there, reasonable people, willing to say this is not a partisan issue. We either have free speech in the United States or we don't. And the self-censorship, a hallmark of authoritarian regimes. This is terrifying stuff. There is no more important time than today. I mean, really, than to support the independent media programs that you want to see stay on the air, because they're going to come for us. Someone's going to get hit here. All right. Awesome new sponsor to talk about, Wild Alaskan Company. They do sustainable seafood memberships. I got one of these boxes, and it is just phenomenal. The whole point with Wild Alaskan Seafood is that it's 100% wild caught. It's never farmed. It's from sustainably managed fisheries in Alaska, frozen at the peak of freshness, and then delivered to you. They've got 3 curated boxes: the wild salmon box, the wild whitefish box, and the wild combo box. I got a box that had everything beautifully vacuum sealed. The fish comes in pre-portioned fillets. We had crab, we had scallops. I know I should be saying scallops. It's just not for me. I call them scallops, okay? Delicious and sustainable. They have a sustainable supply-driven approach. They get products during the harvest season in a way that doesn't deplete the resources of Alaska's wild fisheries. I encourage you to go to wildalaskan.com/Pakman and use the code Pakman for $35 off your first box. The link is in the description.